Okay, I think it's working. Okay, great. So, Sri Akal, welcome to I'm a Brown Girl. My name's Amma. Welcome to episode 2 of season 2, and today I'll be talking about ignorance is bliss. I'm currently in Vietnam having a wonderful time, and I've learned so much in the short amount of time that I've been here. I've been here about 2 weeks, and so much has happened. There's been ups and downs, but I've enjoyed all of it. If you've been following along with my Instagram stories, you'll know that I've had to escape India because my mum has been interesting, or in other words, quite unbearable. In last week's episode, I did say that I'll give you guys an update as to how things were with my travel anxiety. So if you're yet to still listen to episode 1 from season 2, I'd recommend you go back and just have a listen to that. I spoke about how I went no contact with my mum in a lot of depth and how it made me feel. I was initially feeling quite anxious in terms of having to meet her at the airport and having to travel with her, and that was a lot. So initially it was actually fine because my girlfriend was there. So I feel like she couldn't really say anything. And to my surprise, she actually said hello to my girlfriend. So I was like, quite nice, surprising, but quite nice. But since I had my walls up, it wasn't long after that both my parents were being quite weird. Like, they were doing their own thing, right? Which is fine because so was I doing my own thing. But it felt like I was going on a solo trip, even though my parents were there, because they were kind of just doing their own thing. And so was I. I was slightly hoping that I'd get to talk to my dad a little bit more, but I guess he was just tending to my mum, which is fine, I guess. But like, I just thought, okay, it's cool. I'll just speak to him when I get to India. But I thought, I don't know, I felt like if it was me and I was going on a family holiday, regardless of what's happened, like I would kind of stick together. But then I can't really complain because I did want to sit alone and just edit and have some me time. But I don't know, it was weird, but it was fine. As we're diving into today's thought-provoking topic, I have recently been thinking about how sometimes not knowing isn't just okay. It can actually be beneficial. In many cultures, particularly in Desi families, there's often a strong emphasis on sharing everything. But have you ever thought about the weight of that information? Right from your career choices to your personal relationships or every little single detail about your life, you feel almost compelled to share it with your family. Do we really need to involve our parents in every little aspect of our life and they must know everything about our life and whatever's going on? So to relate it back to my personal story, when I actually got to India, it took me a total of 3 days before I had had enough of feeling this pent up anger. I think there was definitely some level of resentment as well. And I don't know, I just felt like because I knew additional information about how she was treating other people, it didn't really sit with me, right? So I just wasn't comfortable being around her. So I went to my auntie's house because I was like, okay, I've had enough. And I had an amazing time there. We had such a blast. I really enjoyed my time. But then I had to get back quite soon after because my dad had booked us a pilgrimage to Pakistan as a 3. So me, my mum, and my dad. So at this point, I had barely spoken to my mum because I just didn't really want to. And it was a bit awkward. And I'll be honest, I was just quite annoyed by her presence. So when we got to the border of Pakistan, we actually got denied entry because there was an issue with the paperwork, which fair enough, these things happen, no problem. But apparently the pilgrimage was the only reason that my mum came. So understandably, she was a little bit more upset. Now, the thing is, I love the relationship that I have with my higher being or God. And I feel like when you go on a pilgrimage, you have to have a clear heart and you can't go with like half-hearted intentions. Last year when I went, it was just me and my dad, and I absolutely loved it. I was in a clear mental headspace and I was feeling good. And I was lucky enough to experience Kartarpur, which is a beautiful temple in Pakistan that we were trying to get to, which was the pilgrimage. This year, I felt like I was only going because the opportunity had arisen and not because I really wanted to go. I thought, cool, the opportunity's arisen. I'm going to go and get my blessings. I'll buy a few suits and call it a day. But that is not a good enough reason to go on a pilgrimage, in my opinion. So when we got denied, I was low-key happy because I was like, I knew it wasn't meant to be. And with how my mum had been towards other family members recently, I felt like karma did its thing. And it's a bitchy thing to say, but at the same time, it's what you get for being so turbulent towards other people. When we got home, she started an argument with my dad saying how she wants to leave India immediately. And my dad got pissed because you can't just click your fingers and just leave India. It takes a lot of steps and work and calls and going to this office and that office and trying to get through to the right department to sort an extension out on your ticket. So, you know, my dad got a bit annoyed and he was like, money doesn't grow on trees. Like, you can't just expect me to just change your flight tickets. And it's not like my mum was going to be in India for a while. It's just that she was just like, I want to leave right now, you know, throwing up a tantrum, being extra, whatever. So that was my opportunity to escape the argument, because I was like, I'm just not here for it. I'm here for a good time and a good time only. And that is going to be for me. I could still hear the conversation, and she turns around and she goes, oh, she's such a disgrace. She's such an embarrassment to the family. She doesn't belong to me. She's not mine. She's yours. Like, saying that to my dad. And my dad turns around and he's like, oh, she's not mine either. She's not anyone's. You can't tell her what to do. And I was just like, why the hell are you saying that? Like, in my head, I didn't go up to him and say like, oh, why are you saying that? But I was just a bit confused. And before reacting, I just took a step back and I was like, I don't know. I can't lie. I was definitely shocked when he said that. And I just ignored it for a second as he was leaving to go out. And I asked him, can I come with you? And he was like, of course you can come with me. It was only after a few days I got to actually sit down with my dad and realize that I don't think he was doing all right. I think he truly feels stuck at times. And I think in the moments where he does say nasty things, it's usually because he's, you know, stressed out or my mum's involved. And the other part of me feels like I just make excuses for him. But I spoke to him a few days ago and we had a lovely conversation, and we had a few conversations after that as well. And it was just like, oh, okay, I kind of see how you say these things when you're stressed out or when you're having an argument with mum, but it still isn't okay. And I did bring this up to him and I explained that I wasn't too happy about it. I think my dad shuts down and goes into pilot mode, which is very similar to me at times. I've had moments where I've been in heated arguments and I just start thinking of other things that are way more important, or I zone out, or I'll just say whatever I need to say to get out of that situation. I don't do that anymore because that's something I've really had to work hard to unlearn, especially for my relationship as well. But the point I'm trying to make is that I had an epiphany moment of understanding my dad's behavior a lot better and why he behaves like that in a stressful situation, especially around my mum. It doesn't make it okay, and I'm glad that I still brought it up. Was accountability taken? Barely. Acknowledgement and reassurance? Yes, which, that's 50-50. It's all right. It's not what I was hoping for, but either way, what can I do? At least I said something, which is the bare minimum. So fast forward to now, I'm so glad that I left India and I realized that I cannot be around people like that. Like, if I am not happy with the people around me, I need to exit. I need to leave. Peace, like, see you bye. I'm not doing it. And since I have left, I've absolutely been thriving. It's just sometimes a reminder for me that just because I've experienced a lot when I was younger doesn't mean that my struggles don't continue in the present. I think I'm just a lot more stronger and better at dealing with them. So anyways, to bring it back to today's topic of ignorance is bliss, because at times I do feel like I'd be better off without telling my dad about, you know, being gay. And I also had moments of being really close with my auntie, who I absolutely adore. Now, she's really old and she loves to ask me like, oh, when are you going to get married? And have you found anyone? And I do have those moments of like, shall I just burst her bubble? Like, shall I just tell her that I'm gay? But then would it mean that she would change the way that she treats me? Does that make her a bad person? No. I feel like everyone is entitled to their opinion. But does it make me a bad person for keeping certain things from her? No. Your family and relatives do not need to know everything about you. When I say ignorance, I don't mean it in a derogatory way. I'm talking about selective information sharing. There are times when shielding our family from certain truths can be an act of kindness. Let's say you're going through a challenging phase at work and you're having a career setback, a relationship breakup, or even some mental health struggles. Sharing everything can often lead to unnecessary worry for our loved ones, especially if they're not equipped to handle that information. And I think that's what brings me back to the old saying of ignorance is bliss. I think with my dad, it was way different because the love I have for him is unconditional. It was eating me up alive knowing the fact that we're here building this bond after years of separation and it being quite difficult. And I want my dad to know who I truly am. And I was hiding such a big part of me from him. for me, I felt like it was really important for him to know before someone else tells him. Obviously, me and my dad think very differently, and I can appreciate that. But at the same time, I still hope that my dad knows I feel comfortable to come to him and tell him most things, regardless of how he will respond. I think for me, it's more about making sure my dad knows who his daughter really is, rather than me creating this illusion that fits his expectations and then breaking the bubble later on, which I think would be a lot more painful. Now, don't get me wrong, transparency is essential for any relationship, but there's a balance to be struck. Sometimes keeping things to ourselves can protect both us and our families from anxiety or stress that they might not be equipped to handle. So what do you think? Are there aspects of your life that you feel like your family doesn't need to know about? What are your thoughts on keeping certain things private? Is it important to foster discussions around this, as it can provide insights and uncover shared experiences amongst us? I think in terms of my relatives and family, I had to remind myself to not feel guilty, that by withholding certain information from them doesn't make the relationship fake. The love I have for my family and relatives is genuine and kind, and the fact that I know they aren't emotionally ready to hear certain things about me or know certain information about me only makes it easier for me to say ignorance is bliss. I felt it was really important to talk about this topic because I know many of my friends have had similar experiences where they do want to share certain things with their parents and they do want to go to their parents for support. But unfortunately, due to the lack of emotional intelligence or, just the lack of understanding, or maybe that relationship isn't the exact safe space that they need, they can't exactly go to their parents and share certain things. So if you have ever felt that guilt, just please know that you are not alone. You do not need to feel guilty about it. You're only protecting yourself and your loved ones. It can sometimes be easier talking to a stranger about your problems or just your life or something you want to share that, you haven't been able to share before, because I just feel like there's far less judgment, or going to a friend that you trust and, creating the safe space that you want for yourself outside of your family and relatives. You can pick and choose how you want to build that relationship. That also brings me to the end of this episode. In terms of the end of episode check-in and how I'm feeling with my mood and just, traveling in general, I feel really good. I feel like it's definitely been scary at times. I find that I love staying in hostels a lot more because there's a social aspect. I realized that the Airbnbs and, staying somewhere by myself is nice because I guess it's a bit more luxury, but I was really missing that human interaction. And I found that speaking to strangers was just so nice and needed. There have also been times where it has been scary. If you don't already know, I was stranded, scammed, and followed by a freaking creep. So if you don't already know what happened, either go to my Instagram or go to my TikTok actually, because I've got a full story time on it, which is worth a listen. But honestly, on a whole, I do feel really good. I'm so glad that I made the decision to stop off somewhere a little bit more remote where it's less touristy. And I'm currently in the seaside town of how do you say it? How do you say it? Quin Nhon. That's it. Took me a second. I'm currently in the seaside town of Quin Nhon, and I'm so glad that I actually chose to stop off here because it's far less touristy. There's a beach down my road, about 30-second walk. And I just went for a beautiful morning run. I had a beautiful stretch in the sea and I feel really good. I just cannot believe that this is my life. And 1 year ago, I was in a toxic job that I absolutely hated with horrible managers, just some of the worst people I've ever met in my life. And to see my life 1 year later, I'm so grateful because if I had known that this was planned, would it have been easier? I don't know, but it just makes me appreciate life and God and just the universe a lot more, that I should really trust the process, that I know I'm going to be fine. In life, there's going to be good experiences and bad experiences, but from both experiences, you're going to still learn something. And I think for me, I've learned so much in such a short amount of time that I feel excited for whatever's next. And I want to trust and believe in whatever is meant for me rather than having to always worry about, oh my God, am I going to get that job? Is this for me? Blah, 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 always in a worry. And I just realized that this trip has made me realize that I do not need to worry. Whatever is for me is already mine. So what is the point of worrying? Anyways, I hope that you were able to learn something from this episode or relate. Please feel free to share your story. I appreciate everyone's engagement, especially on my Instagram. Oh my God, like I'm loving the engagement on my stories. I love putting out polls and just, questions. And I've been quite unhinged with my stories, and people have been reaching out, and I cannot even express the appreciation I have for that. It really does mean a lot. So if you aren't already, remember to follow along on my Instagram, my TikTok, on my socials. All my social handles are linked, but it will be at I'm a Brown Girl. So take a look, make sure to follow, share, like, engage, all of that good stuff. Before I just mention my outro, can we just appreciate the view? Like, the beach is right there, and I'm on a rooftop in Vietnam, in the middle of nowhere. And I'm recording an episode. What is my life? Like this, look at my hair swaying in the air. I don't even know what this audio quality is going to be like. It's just, Anyway, I'm really happy, and I'm so proud of myself for pushing myself to be uncomfortable in a very uncomfortable situation, which is solo traveling. Anyways, I thank you for watching. I thank you for listening. Thank you. Dhanyavad. Sat Shri Akal. Bye.